Welcome once again to the Benedictine Monastery of the Holy Cross in Rostrevor, County Down, Northern Ireland. Today we will reflect around the mystery of the cross. But let's backtrack a little. Let's think of the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem. We recall that at the beginning of every Holy Week. And you may remember that part of the story where the Pharisees say to Jesus, when the crowd is acclaiming him as the Messiah King, check your disciples, tell them to keep silence. And you may remember what Jesus replied, even if these keep silence, the very stones will cry out. It strikes me today that not only are we invited to contemplate the cross during Holy Week, but we are invited to listen to the cross. The cross cries out as those stones, Jesus said, cry out. And so I propose that we strive to listen to the cross and to hear what the cross has to say to us. Let me take you on a journey. So we're leaving Northern Ireland and we're going to go first on a journey to Scotland. And then after that, we will take another journey which will bring us as far as Italy. Let me begin by taking you to Scotland. And I want to bring you to a kirk building. In your imagination, you might go with me to Rothwell, which is in Dumfriesshire. In that place, there is an 18-foot stone cross. It's a high cross that was carved on the sides, and on the carving are the words of the Holy Rood. It's a poem which celebrates the cross as the tree of life. Today I will be sharing with you something of the content of that poem and trying to break down with you what the poem may have to say to us where we find ourselves today in the 21st century. So this ancient cross speaks to us. The poem of the Holy Rood is one of the masterpieces, we could say, of English literature, the dream of the Rood. So let me read some extracts from the poem to you. It's a very long poem, so we're just reading some lines here and there in the poem. The author introduces what he will go on to present as words spoken by the tree itself. So while this cross is in stone, it is the wood of the cross that speaks, the tree. I quote the poem. Listen, the choicest of visions I wish to tell, which came as a dream in middle night, after voice bearers lay at rest. It seemed that I saw a most wondrous tree, borne aloft, wound round by light, brightest of beams. I, troubled, beheld the healer's tree, until I heard its fair voice. Then best wood spoke these words. The tree speaks. Rude I was reared. I lifted a mighty king, Lord of the heavens. Much have I borne. We could understand that line to mean, to much have I given birth. On that hill of fierce fate, I, glorious now, I may heal any of those who reverence me. And for the poet to go on to tell us how in the light of the tree's words to him, he then prayed to the Holy Rood. I prayed then to what is for me life's hope. Yes, my hope reverts to the Rood. May he be friend to me who here on earth died on that gallows tree for mankind's sins. He loosed us and life gave. Hope was renewed with glory and gladness. It's always difficult just to hear a poem. Maybe you need to go and look for that poem, The Dream of the Holy Rood, on the web, to really savour its content. But I'd like to break down the poem and its meaning for you. In the poem, the tree's message is clearly a message of healing and hope. Remark how when I read the poem, I emphasised those two concepts, those two words, healing and hope. It is a message of life. This, I believe, is a message for the church at this time in our world when in so many places the church is suffering so much. In so many places we could say, we also have the impression that the church is dying out. Certainly in Europe, it seems to be the experience of many. The dream of the Rood, however, has us think of the cross as the tree of life. The tree of life first planted in Eden, which has become the tree of healing and rebirth, of which the book of the Apocalypse speaks to us. So Genesis, we have the tree of life, and the Apocalypse, the last book of the Bible, we have the tree of healing, the tree of rebirth. In the light of Christ's last words in John's Gospel, when he declares, all is accomplished, everything is fulfilled, we are led to think of God's creative work having found its fulfillment. You remember in the book of Genesis, in the beginning, and then with the death of Jesus, all is fulfilled, all is accomplished, it is completed. With Jesus' death, the creative work of God is accomplished. For here we see the greatest expression of God's love for us since the time of that first expression of love when he brought our world into being. Yes, on Calvary's hill, God accomplished his desire to restore what was broken in Eden. In this light, what a message of hope the cross is for us. This is what we sing in an ancient hymn, that the cross shines out for us as spes unica, unique hope, our unique hope. And this is something that we are reminded of each Passiontide, the importance of the cross as the tree of life, the tree of our rebirth to life in God. That's true for us at a personal level, and it's true for us at the level of society, it's true for us as church. I remember some years ago being particularly struck to have received just on the eve of Good Friday a message by internet. And it was the image of a beautifully carved stone cross. That's what had me think of the dream of the Holy Rood in this reflection. But on the cross were written these words, words taken from the prophet Jeremiah, from chapter 29, verse 11 of the prophet Jeremiah. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope and a future. And I believe that is a message of which the church stands in need today. God has plans for us, plans of hope, plans for a future. Yes, the Lord sees you and me, and he has in his heart a plan for our future in well-being, greater life for us. I said I was going to take you on a journey not only to Scotland, but also to Italy. So we move into a warmer climate, as it were. And in Italy, I would invite you to journey with me to Assisi, to the outskirts of Assisi, to that little church that St. Francis of Assisi rebuilt, San Damiano. You may remember how in San Damiano, the cross spoke to Francis. To begin with, Francis foolishly thought that the message he heard from the cross was about bricks and mortar. For the message he heard was that he was to rebuild the church. The cross said, Francis, rebuild my church. Francis set about rebuilding the church building at San Damiano. But the Lord was thinking of something more, something greater. He was thinking of the spiritual edification and the spiritual re-edification of the church, the rebuilding of the life of the people of God. And that's something we need to experience in every age and generation. In this age and generation, perhaps more than ever. And in so many places, it looks as if things have fallen into disrepair and even total devastation and ruin. The task that is before us to rebuild the church is an enormous task. It is a mammoth task far beyond our own strength. And we have to remember those words of the psalmist, unless the Lord builds the house, in vain do the builders labour. For us to believe that the Lord wants to labour in and through us for the rebuilding of his church. As in any building project, the first thing, the most important thing, will be the foundations that we lay. And our foundation is meant to be on the rock which is Christ. He is the firm foundation, the church's firm foundation, as the hymn writer puts it. On him everything reposes. And for the Apostle Paul to remind us that we are, as Christian people, to be planted in, rooted in, founded upon Christ. After a little trip to Scotland and to Italy, let us return to where we set out from on this journey, to Ireland. And on these shores was composed this beautiful Irish poem, which I believe all of us, wherever we are listening to this in the world, could pray in our hearts as I pronounce them with my lips. Christ's cross to accompany before us, Christ's cross to accompany behind us, Christ's cross to meet every difficulty both on hollow and on hill, Christ's cross over our community, Christ's cross over his church. We've been from Ireland to Scotland to Italy, we've come back to Ireland. Even though monks are not supposed to travel much, let me end this little reflection by inviting you to come with me to Germany, to listen there to the words of the great Protestant theologian of the Second World War years, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Bonhoeffer, in his writings, has this remarkable little line written at a time when the church was in crisis, when it found itself compromised, when it had failed in so many ways. I quote, "The renewal of the church will come from a new type of monasticism, which has only in common with the old an uncompromising allegiance to the Sermon on the Mount. It is high time men and women banded together to do this." Let's take those words to heart. This new monasticism is not necessarily that all of you who are viewing this go to live in monasteries. We can live this new monasticism in the world, in our families, wherever we're placed, by living the essential values of monastic life: constant prayer, attention to the Word of God, seeing Christ in all others around us. Let's do that wholeheartedly, and to do it with this specific intention in our minds and hearts: the rebuilding of Christ's church. As we go to work, let's hold in our hands the plan given to us in the Sermon on the Mount. Really is, we could say, the plan given to us for this re-edification of the church. Let's go about our work humbly, labouring in blessed communion, quietly and gently, in the spirit of the Beatitudes. Amen.
Sanctus, Sanctus, Sanctus Dominus, Deus Sabaoth, pleni sub cieli et terra, gloria tua.
At the end of Mass, we are told to go out and bring the gospel into our lives and witness to the gospel by everything that we say and do. It's so important that we are all out there bringing the joy of the gospel to everyone we know. And that's why I'm so pleased to endorse and offer my blessing to Shalom World TV for all that you are doing to bring good news into this world which is often sad and dark and in need of a message of hope. Thank you for what you're doing. May God bless your work always.